So, yeah, I've looked on YouTube and done a little web searching and found that the information that I find on the internet about doing work on pretty much everything tends to be skewed, not have accurate information, and has a lot of BS in it. The videos suck. People don't get to just the meat and potatoes of things, and it drives me crazy. So I'm not a professional. I just play one for a living. We're going to work on my brother's car here. It's a 07 Nissan Altima 2.5S. What we're going to do here is we're going to change the spark plugs on it and do a decarb on it. He called me. He had a little bit of a rough idle issue. He actually just cleaned the mass airflow sensor out. You just buy some mass airflow sensor cleaner in an auto parts store, pull it out. It's 2 screws. You spray it out real good and then leave it out to dry. That's a great thing to do before you work on something else so it can sit and dry. And then I'll show you how that's done maybe another time. What you're going to need for this job as far as doing the spark plugs on the car is a 5mm Allen socket or Allen wrench, 10mm socket. I prefer a 6-point, but you can use a 12-point on it. A lot of cheaper tool sets have 12 points on them. And then you're going to need a 14mm socket. This car has iridium spark plugs in it from the factory. Some of the cross references say that it has platinum plugs. Auto parts stores will say you can use copper plugs and all kinds of crap. Use what the factory uses. You're going to get the best performance and the most longevity out of it. Also, you're going to need a ratchet. I got a cheap ratchet. Extensions, I prefer to use a 1-foot extension, but I left it at work, so we're going to use a 6-inch and a 3-inch pair of pliers, and either a flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, or a multi-driver. I love multi-drivers, they're great. What we're going to do here is we're going to take the cover off the engine, and that's with the 5mm Allen socket. I already loosened these up, but they're not very tight. I believe the spec on them is about 4 foot-pounds. Alright, take the engine cover off. I like to take all the screws out, set them off to the side, and then put them somewhere where I know I'm going to find them. I like to put a lot of stuff on the valance. A lot of people do. Then you're going to need a 10mm socket. Go ahead and swap your socket out. And you take that 10mm socket and right on top of your ignition coil here, I'm going to loosen up your ignition coil. And like I said, I already pre-loosened a couple of things just because I wanted to check, make sure I had all the proper tools for this. Make it a little bit easier. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a flathead screwdriver. And this may sound crazy, but you push in on it while you squeeze the tab, and then turn the screwdriver, and it'll pop that connector right off. Grab at the coil and pull out. If you have a coil that's stuck, if it's stuck down in there, grab a pair of channel locks or any pliers. Make sure you get a good grip. Don't grab them at a weird angle. You'll screw up the coil. Coils are kind of expensive. But what you want to do is you'll want to wiggle a little bit, then pull up, and it'll pop right out. You can hear that suction noise. That's the rubber gasket on that losing its seal. After you get that out, and get your 14mm socket, put it down in here, grab that spark plug, get it good and loose, and then I'm going to grab a piece of hose, just any piece of vacuum hose or fuel hose. You're going to push it down over the spark plug firmly and then lift it out, and there's your spark plug right there. You see the spark plug has a little bit of oil on it. We had a valve cover leak a while back, and the valve cover seals on this around the spark wells are integrated into the valve cover, so we had to take everything apart and pull the valve cover off and replace the valve cover. It's about a $40 part and fixes the issue there. The specs for these spark plugs is 19.6 foot-pounds. Grab a replacement plug here. These are NGK laser iridium. Stock number is 9029. That's what most auto part stores are going to refer to it as. NGK refers to it as the DILKAR6A11. What you'll do is all these iridium plugs are pre-gapped, so you don't actually touch the gap on the plug. If you look at the two plugs, you'll notice they look pretty much the same. One's old and kind of burnt, the other one's brand new. So you're going to take this out of the package. You're not going to put anything on this. You're not going to put dielectric grease or anti-seize lubricant or anything like that. Manufacturers, if they recommend it, will put it in the manual. Most don't nowadays. So what we do is, I'm sure you saw, I took the brand new spark plug, pushed it into the hose, and then I'm going to use the hose to actually turn the new spark plug into the threads. So what I'll do is I'll actually take my regular ratchet and I'll just make sure it's snug. I won't actually tighten it yet. Then I'm going to go on to the next. These aren't very tight. The torque spec on these is 62 inch-pounds, which is about 5 foot-pounds. And another coil. You can actually set the coils wherever you feel like you're not going to knock them over. Another thing I like to do is I take the old spark plug and I'll put it back in the packaging from the new one. And I'll set them in order. Sometimes I'll take a Sharpie and just write the spark plug number if I want to look at the spark plugs later and see maybe why the car wasn't running well, or if I find any issues with it. So I'm going to do this again.
Is it important to keep the coils in order?
It is not, actually. I personally, out of preference, just do that. I try to keep all the hardware, the coils, everything in order. The important thing when you put this all back together is that you get the coil plugs back in their correct order, because the computer's programmed to fire one coil at a time at the proper time. It's pretty hard to get these. As you can see, they're really short, so it's pretty hard to get them out of order, but it can happen, and I've seen it done. Just set it out of the way. Drop some stuff, break some things, you know. $20 a piece plugs are always fun to break. So we'll take that. And like I said, these are pre-gapped. You also want to be careful. Don't drop them. If you drop them, go buy a new one. If you see one of the little tangs on it's broken, go buy a new one. Or if you've just pulled it out of the box, you know you didn't drop it, take it back to the auto parts store. Sometimes they do get dropped in shipping or when they're stocking them, something like that. And yet again, brand new spark plug. Push it on there. Put it down in the hole. I can grab a flashlight and shine it down there so you can see, but must have just been a little bit of residue from when we did the repair last. Can you see down there? Yeah. You can see they're nice and clean. There's not really any residue, oil, anything like that down in there. Alright, so we got that new spark plug in. Grab the ratchet, 10mm socket again. If your boots are torn or damaged, or you see what looks like white burning marks, or they're just really hard rubber, you can buy a boot kit or replacement boots for these coils. They're fairly inexpensive. I looked at my local auto parts store. I think they were $9 a piece, and it comes with just the tip boot and the seals right here. These seals are really pliable. You can see they're like a nice soft O-ring, and that's exactly how it should be. Alright, so that's in. Just now. What we're going to do now actually is we're actually going to torque the spark plugs. Yes, I use a torque wrench to torque spark plugs. There's a reason that a manufacturer puts torque specs for things. It's so you don't break stuff, and so things are exactly where they should be. So you can get your torque wrench, and I usually give it a quarter turn, and it should take right about a half, and there it is. If you don't have a torque wrench, go buy one. Yes, the spark plug manufacturers know what they're doing. If you got a tapered seat plug and you turn it finger tight and you give it 1/16 of a turn, just like the box says, it will seal the plug. If you have a crush washer type seat and you turn it a half a turn, it will seal the plug and the plug will work. But as you saw, every single plug that I put in here turned a little more, a little less, to set that torque to the 19.5 that I set it to, which, like I said, is as close to manufacturer spec as I can get it. You're going to go back through, get your coils, take your coils, put them down in here. Some engines you'll find that it's easier to put the connector on and then put the coil in all the way. If you push them all the way in and then you can't get the connector on, like say this one, then just pull the coil up a little bit, but keep it low. Push the connector on, make sure it snaps. I'm sure you probably saw that one snapping, and then you know you're good. And that's it. Alright, I hope you found this video educational. If you got any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up. Tell me I suck. And make it a great day.